Hello and welcome to the Astrology Forecast. My name is Sage. Here is your eye into the sky, letting you know what the cosmic events are for the week, why they matter, and how you can use this information in your everyday life. I hope that wherever you are listening to this forecast right now, that your day is treating you well, the week is going well. I know it is the holiday season, so a lot of spirit and energy is in the air right now. I believe Hanukkah actually just started, so happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate. Christmas coming up in a couple of weeks, and of course, rounding out the year with New Year's. We're actually going to be discussing some things that are going to be happening around that time today. So, lots to dive into today for this week's forecast. Before we do go ahead and get started, just a quick reminder to please hit that subscribe button. If you've been tuning into these forecasts, you've been getting value, you've been listening regularly, make sure that you do subscribe. And if you have been enjoying the videos, make sure you hit the like button. And of course, comment below. I would love to hear about your perspective on these different cosmic events, how it's been showing up in your life. I've had some really great comments recently, some cool book recommendations, just a lot of great community forming there. So thank you guys so much for that, for the support, and hopefully for also just getting value from these forecasts and from this information being shared. On that note, we are, of course, going into the thick of the holiday season. So, in the spirit of the season, I have released a holiday special savings promo that actually just got released today. I'm recording this, of course, on Sunday, but this will be in effect all the way until December 31st. I am offering 25% off of any reading. This goes for birth chart readings, solar return readings, couples chart readings, and even personal monthly forecast readings. I was initially going to go only until December 25th, but then I thought about it and I'm like, a lot of people are really looking to get an understanding of what they can expect for the new year. So I did extend that all the way until the 31st. That way, if you do have a desire to know what you can expect for that first month of 2024, that is available. Again, it'll be 25% off all the way until the beginning of the new year. So without further ado, let's dive into the two major cosmic events for this week. They are stacked right up against each other, and they definitely will be creating a big pivot point in this month of December. If you've been looking for an energy reset, if you've been waiting for things to sort of shift and maybe change in some type of way, this is the week that is happening. I know it's crazy that December is flying by so fast already, but this is actually now almost coming up to the middle of December. And yes, this is the week where the second half of the month really changes things up. So let's dive right in, starting with the first major cosmic event, which is happening on Tuesday, December 12th. And this is a new moon in the sign of Sagittarius. So, Sagittarius is, of course, a fire sign. This is a mutable fire sign ruled by Jupiter, represented by that centaur archer. I did a full discussion, a full breakdown all about Sagittarius just a couple weeks ago. So if you would like a more in-depth understanding of this sign, go ahead and check out that forecast. Now, for this week, it is a new moon. All right, so a new moon is when the sun and the moon are together in the same sign. So this week we have the sun, it's been in Sagittarius ever since right after Thanksgiving. And now we're basically having the moon catching up to the sun. So we have a new moon where they're together in the same sign. Now, this is also the beginning of a new lunar cycle. This is a complete new lunation, which means that we are basically finishing up on the lunar energy, the lunar cycle that began a month ago, and we are now entering into a fresh start. That's really what new moons are here for. New moons, again, think about it's new, right? The word itself, the phrasing itself really does imply what it's all about. This is a new, fresh energy start. So new moons are often a time when we can essentially plant seeds and set intentions and begin the energy of this new lunar cycle in a way that we can create it however we want to create it. Now, this new moon will have, of course, an energy signature of Mars. Mars is also in Sagittarius, and Mars is hanging out pretty close to this new moon. So Mars, the sun, and the moon all together in Sagittarius, making this a very fiery week. And a lot of high energy. Mars is, of course, the planet of energy and taking action and drive and willpower. So a lot of wanting to get things done when Mars is involved with the new moon. So let's dive into what we can expect with this new moon. Again, it is in the sign of Sagittarius, fire sign, all about inspiration, dreaming big, really wanting to expand things and explore our world. Now, this doesn't have to mean the whole world, but exploring our world. Everybody's world looks different. Whatever is involved with your life, with your world, we want to expand, we want to grow, we want to experience. And that's really what the heart of this new moon is all about. Now, again, this moon begins middle of December. We will get a full moon, which I will discuss later on in the month, towards the end of the month. So be aware that whatever seeds we plant, whatever intentions and goals we set for ourselves during the new moon, we will see the culmination of that as we approach that full moon, which, spoiler alert, is happening the day after Christmas. So couple of ways we can work with this energy. I'm going to go through 3 ways that we can work with this new moon in Sagittarius cosmic energy. The first way we can really look to work with this is to set intentions around that which we want to experience. Sagittarius, if you've heard me say it before, this is the sign of wanting to experience everything. This is the sign of spirit, right? Fire is spirit incarnated into man. And when we have Sagittarius, this fun-loving fire sign, the sign that wants to experience life, to experience the world, this is really the goal of this new moon. Now, yes, it is coming in correlation with a couple other cosmic events, which we will be discussing, cough, cough, Mercury retrograde. So yes, there is going to be a bit of an interesting dynamic between a much more high energy, fast paced, Sagittarius compared to that retrograde. But we will get into that. So stay tuned. I will dive into all things retrograde by the end of this video. But when it comes to the new moon, number one, again, set intentions around what you want to experience. Now, this is planting seeds, right? Sagittarius is all about experience. The new moon is all about planting seeds. So we really want to look at, what do I want to experience? What adventure do I want to have? What opportunities are available to me, and what is possible? Look to whatever house in your birth chart you have Sagittarius. That will be extremely helpful in understanding a lot, actually, because this retrograde coming up again, not to go too far, but that will also be involving Sagittarius. So a lot of conversations happening in that Sagittarius house within your birth chart. Knowing what area of your life this is governing is extremely beneficial to know what area of life are you setting new intentions? Where are you planting seeds? Where might you expect to feel more motivated and inspired to do something new, to reset, to maybe change up the energy? Maybe things feel stagnant. One thing about Sagittarius, doesn't like stagnancy. Boredom is not okay with Sagittarius. We almost might feel restless during this time, and especially in whatever area of our life this is occurring in and it's being activated in. So setting intentions around what you want to experience. Again, this doesn't have to involve travel or going off to, go to a new restaurant or watch the new movie or do something different, right? This can be something as simple as a new conversation with somebody. Maybe you want to dive into a different new book around whatever area of life you've been wanting to explore more. This is, again, not always about physical experience. Sometimes these adventures, these experiences we have are much more internal, and they're felt within. So whatever that looks like for you, look to set some new intentions here. We really want to dream big. That, of course, is a major signature for Sagittarius energy. And so this is an excellent time to maybe get out that vision board, to look at what your goals are. Again, Sagittarius is that big picture thinker. And so, yes, we are coming up on the end of the year. I know a lot of people are already starting to look ahead, deciding on what it is you want to accomplish next year, maybe looking at your vision board for this year, comparing it to next year. That's all great. But I would really recommend to start that now. I know a lot of us are probably going to be starting that as we approach the new year, but astrology advice here, the sky is actually most supportive. The planets involved, especially the sun and moon right now, and Mars, are really supportive for looking at whatever intentions we have, that vision board, that larger vision picture for what we desire. Look at it now. Look at it this week. a couple weeks in advance. Mercury in Capricorn is, of course, happy about that preparation. So this is a really great time to, again, set those intentions for what you want to experience in the future, long-term thinking here. So that is number one. Number two, have faith and say yes. This is a new moon in Sagittarius. So, of course, the ruler of Sagittarius is Jupiter. Jupiter is currently in Taurus, an earth sign, which is really grounding this new moon, allowing all the dreams and the visions that are coming about and we're getting excited over. We are having that grounded earth energy, that earth to the fire, to really put whatever dreams, whatever intentions we have into place. Taurus is the sign of consistency and practicality and sensuality. So, really experiencing our world and our experiences with our five senses and really looking at what makes sense to accomplish here. Now, again, having faith and saying yes is because Sagittarius is the sign of freedom. Sagittarius wants to explore and to see as much as it can. And so during this new moon, big piece of advice here, say yes. If there's been something you've been wanting to do, if there's been maybe a new opportunity on the horizon that you've been maybe tiptoeing towards, this is the opportunity. This is honestly the last time before we have Mercury going retrograde. So if you're listening to this and it is not December 12th yet, or maybe it's the day of December 12th, this is the time to, again, say yes and put something in motion. Because after this day, after the 12th, we are going to be having a lot more slowing down effect as, of course, the Mercury retrograde sets in. So this is really our last chance before December becomes a whole nother bag. And we can really take advantage of this excited, enthusiastic, again, Mars is involved here. So we're driven and determined to do whatever it is that excites us, to whatever lights us on fire and really sparks a feeling of passion and fun. This is all very Sagittarian energy. This is the time to capitalize on that. Say yes, do whatever scares you, take that risk. It might feel spontaneous, it might feel scary. Mars is involved, saying to be, courageous, to have no fear, and to do whatever it is that thrills you. Mars is the thrill seeker, and Sagittarius is right along for the ride. Sagittarius, if you know you've got Sagittarius in your chart, you understand. You want to have fun. You want to have that adrenaline rush, that thrill seeking energy. So, this is really what's happening for us on December 12th. So, take advantage of it. The last thing that we really want to do to work with this energy is to focus on the why of things. Sagittarius is the philosopher. Unlike an opposite to Gemini, which is the thinker, Gemini is more like the what of things. What is it? Whereas Sagittarius is the why of things. Sagittarius is the large thinker, the philosopher, the one that's looking at the ideology behind something and really seeking to understand whatever it's looking to understand in its largest, most universal frame. So during this new moon, this is an excellent time to focus on why I want to do something. Maybe something excites me. Maybe it sparks some feelings of passion and thrill and adventure. And I want to go experience and explore that. Ask yourself why. Our belief systems might be really coming up for us during this new moon. You might find people in your life are becoming a lot more dogmatic and really talking about their beliefs and their values and what they feel is like most aligned with what they see this world as, but whether that be spirituality, whether that be religion, whatever that looks like for us, we might find that this is coming up more during this new moon in Sagittarius. So, on a personal level, look at what encourages you to take action. What are your beliefs? What is it that fuels you? What are your morals, your values, your ethics, your ideologies, right? What is it that you prescribe to? This is all conversation that we might be having with either ourselves, maybe with a loved one. Again, knowing where you've got Sagittarius in your chart, this could involve simply how you make money, right? This can involve your work. There's so many different ways this can manifest. Again, knowing your chart is essential for this. But even if you don't know your chart, because I don't want to get too caught up on that, if maybe you don't know that, understanding the energy at play is already putting yourself at an advantage. So, knowing that this is an opportunity to not only plant seeds, but to know why you're planting the seed, to understand what is that seed rooted in, right? What beliefs is that seed rooted in? Whatever I fully allow myself to adhere to, look at what that is, why that is, and maybe you're looking to change that up. Maybe you're looking to expand that or explore it more. This is the time to do it. Mars is encouraging us to take more action, and also there might be a little bit more urgency behind whatever it is we want to accomplish here, because again, Mars doesn't like to waste time. It's in a fire sign, so we are getting things done, but we're doing it with a sense of purpose, and that's really the beautiful part of this new moon. Now again, this is the beginning of the new lunar cycle. It will reach its peak culminating point on December 26th. That is when we have a full moon in Cancer. So whatever you've been, again, putting into, fruition, whatever you've been wanting to manifest, whatever seeds you've been planting, know that by Christmas time we might see this coming into form a bit more. So that is the new moon in Sagittarius happening on December 12th. Okay, so let's dive into the second cosmic event for this week, which is happening on Wednesday, December 13th. And this is the infamous Mercury retrograde starting on the 13th in the sign of Capricorn. So, Mercury retrograde, when I say that, I'm sure a lot of people go, oh no, because as we know, Mercury retrograde is notorious for inciting a lot of chaos in our lives, and a lot of just things that we have to surrender to. So before I dive into that, let's just do a quick refresher. What is a retrograde? What is Mercury retrograde? So this is actually an optical illusion. The planet Mercury is not actually moving backwards in its orbit. That's just how it appears from our perspective here on Earth. Now, this does happen 3 times every single year. It happens for 3 weeks. And it is a lot to be aware of and to be conscious of, because again, Mercury retrograde can oftentimes lead to a lot of craziness. Retrogrades, especially, are always times to think back and look back. Again, retrograde, RE begins the word retrograde. And we see that same beginning, that same prefix in other words like reverse and reset and reflect. And reanalyze and review, right? I can keep going. This is because retrogrades are a time to put on the cosmic brakes, to take a second to revise, relook at, maybe reanalyze, and reflect on how things have been going, right? This is that checkpoint. I know a lot of us, we don't really love retrogrades, especially Mercury, because we do feel this energy so closely. Mercury is a very personal planet. It's very close to the Earth. We do feel its effects a lot more viscerally. Like we really do experience the effect of Mercury retrograde in the way we talk, in the way that we communicate and operate and learn about things. Even in our day to day life, Mercury retrograde is notorious for creating a lot of mishaps, whether that be miscommunication, missed appointments, travel delays. This can also include technology getting a lot more haywire. Maybe you're having things crash on you or not working. Like a lot can unfold during Mercury retrograde, where our day-to-day life, again, Mercury is that quick moving planet, it rules over the day-to-day happenings for us. A lot of that can go a little crazy. A lot of it can be reversed, and all of a sudden the energy which is normally being pushed forward and outward and directed in that forward motion, it's all of a sudden becoming reverse. It's turning itself around. And this can be weird because all of a sudden things get a little wackier. Normally the conversation goes smoothly and all of a sudden it doesn't. Normally I can book my appointments ahead of time and show up and everything goes smoothly. All of a sudden we have some delays. We have some people calling to reschedule. Again, reschedule, right? That's a very common thing to happen during a retrograde. If you're looking to travel, again, this isn't to say don't travel. I've traveled on Mercury retrograde, not by choice, but it happens, right? You have to go with life and live in this world. But at the same time, double check your travel plans. Make sure you check in early. Make sure you've made sure that the tickets are booked, that you know what time to show up. Is it AM or PM? The time zones are correct. These are all things to just be especially cognizant of during the retrograde. Other things to take note of course, can involve communication, making sure you explain things thoroughly. Oftentimes, things get lost in translation, they get misinterpreted. We have to go back and rehash things that maybe haven't been discussed. And that's another thing with Mercury retrograde, just giving the overview, right? That Mercury retrogrades can oftentimes bring things up from the past. In fact, all retrogrades bring things up from the past. Mercury in particular is going to be potentially things that we've been discussing, things that we've been talking about, topics of either conversation or study that have been especially important to us, particularly knowing where you've got this energy showing up in your chart. Again, this is happening in the Capricorn house. So knowing where you've got Capricorn will give you a lot deeper insight as to where this retrograde will be affecting you. How is this going to show up in your life? Very important to know. If you do not know that, make sure you go ahead, book a reading, hit me up. If you don't already have my Instagram, this is my Instagram. Definitely click on that, go to my Instagram and message me if you're not sure. If you need more guidance, very important to know where this retrograde is showing up for you. So this retrograde is starting off in the sign of Capricorn. Again, we have had Mercury in Capricorn since December 1st. Now we have the retrograde starting on December 13th, and Mercury will remain in the sign of Capricorn all the way until December 23rd, upon which it will actually be retrograding so far back that it re-enters back into Sagittarius, which again happens on December 23rd. By January 1st, hallelujah, the retrograde will be over. Mercury will station direct on January 1st. So again, it's only 3 weeks, not too much to be afraid of, but it is happening during the holidays. So take note of that. I know a lot of people travel, they, see people they haven't seen in a while. Very, 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 I don't know what the word is. I'm can't think of the word, but it just makes sense. It's very in alignment. We'll put it like that, right? It's very in alignment with the retrograde that we will more than likely be revisiting with family, traveling, doing all these very mercurial things, but in a retrograde fashion. So that's something to take note of. Maybe you're seeing people you haven't seen, or maybe conversations are being had around topics that haven't been discussed. If you're traveling, again, please just pay special attention to all travel plans. But again, so this is only until January 1st. So it's a great way to start 2024, as the retrograde will literally end the day we enter 2024, which also is beautiful in a sense, because as we know, leading up to the January 1st, a lot of us are doing a lot of reflection, right? That's what New Year's is all about. We reflect on the year that we just had. We think ahead about what we want to experience in the new year. But again, it's a lot of looking back in order to look ahead. And that's exactly what Mercury retrograde is all about anyway. So pair that in terms of what we're experiencing with the holidays, with the new year, a lot of alignment with that. This might be a very reflective, very maybe even more solemn and quieter, sense of the holidays, because we are not in a forward motion. We're not thinking forwardly. We're thinking in reverse. We're looking back. We're doing a lot of that reflection. So that is what to expect. Now, again, Mercury will be in Sagittarius on January 1st when it goes direct. It'll stay in Sagittarius until January 13th. Finally, on January 13th, it will go forward again back into Capricorn, where it will remain until February 5th. So this is an extended period of time that Mercury is in Capricorn, basically from December 1st all the way until February 5th. Yes, it does go back into Sagittarius for a little bit, which is why I really highly recommend knowing where you have both Capricorn and Sagittarius in your chart, as this is the only retrograde this year that is moving between two signs. This year we've had retrogrades really happening in just one, but this is one where we are experiencing two energies, two houses within our chart. So this is an interesting dynamic to experience. But this week, I'm going to be mainly just focusing on Mercury being in Capricorn. By next week, when Mercury does go back into Sagittarius, I will be discussing that and covering that in depth. But this is a weekly forecast, so stick with me here. We're just going to focus on Mercury being in Capricorn, basically for this first week, this first chunk of time. So 3 ways to work with this energy. The first thing is to seek to revise the blueprint. See, Capricorn is all about the blueprint. Capricorn is the mountain goat. The mountain goat is able to see the entire mountain and know every single step it needs to take to get to the top. This is the boss, the CEO of the zodiac. Capricorn likes to be ahead of things, to be on top, to be in charge. Now, having a blueprint is important because we need a blueprint to reach success, right? We need to have the plan, the map. Where am I going and how am I getting there? That is extremely important for Capricorn energy. I know I have a lot of Capricorn energy. In fact, my Mercury is actually in Capricorn. So a lot of how you see me even delivering this information is due to that Mercury in Capricorn, which is very practical. It's very organized. It can see the full picture, but still break it down in its smaller components in order to build our way up to the top, right? To whatever it is we're looking to reach or attain, whatever that greater purpose is. And so seeking to really revise the blueprint, because during a retrograde, we're looking backwards. And in Capricorn, we're looking at how we've done things and how we can do things better. Capricorn loves efficiency because, as we know, in order to be successful and reach the top, we can't waste time. So Capricorn doesn't like to waste time. Mercury in Capricorn being the quickest planet, Mercury is very fast, and in Capricorn, it wants to reach the top. But in a retrograde cycle, we have to pause and reflect. So think back on how you've been doing things. What has been your program, your plan? This is an excellent time to revise the sequence, the steps, maybe reorganize things. If you have this massive goal, this massive dream, maybe you thought about this during the time when Mercury was in Sagittarius and you were thinking big and you were really experiencing this huge, awakening of whatever it is you want to attain. And then Mercury in Capricorn is that grounded earth energy that's going to help us get there. But during the retrograde, we're actually revising this. We're thinking back on this and maybe redoing some things, maybe relaying the foundation, that groundwork. Because in order for us to get to the top, we have to make sure that the steps in place are getting us there, right? We're taking the proper steps. So this is the first thing I would recommend. And again, being in Capricorn, write it down. Honestly, even for me, having my Mercury in Capricorn, I write everything down. Every single forecast for the last 2 years, I have written down notes for. Have I looked at them? Maybe, maybe not. Have I needed them? Probably not every single time. But have I written them down to know where I'm going, to know the blueprint ahead of time? Yes. And that is the signature of Mercury in Capricorn. So that is the first piece of advice of how to work with this energy, is to revise whatever the blueprint is and make it better. Use this little cosmic breakpoint, checkpoint to really think about how you can improve it and go back and relay some of that groundwork to make sure that you can reach even greater heights moving forward. So that's the first thing. Second thing, look for progress over perfection. So second piece of advice is don't get so caught up in everything being perfect, Capricorn. I say that because, again, having a lot of Capricorn in my chart, I'm a Capricorn sun. I have my Mercury in Capricorn, my Mars in Capricorn. I've got actually 5 planets. So perfectionism is something that I can relate with. But at the same time, when we have a retrograde, we're not looking to be perfect because we have to surrender to the chaos of the retrograde, right? This is the time of miscommunication, technology wigging out on us. Make sure you back up your files. Capricorn loves things to be perfect, right? This is an earth sign that wants to achieve success. And so everything in our practical world needs to be aligned in order for us to get there. And so, yes, this can come with a degree of perfectionism. However, this is not the time to be so worried about that. This is more the time to focus on the progress of things. If I'm revising that blueprint, again, piece of advice number one, then how can I make this, whatever this is, this plan or project, move forward? And it doesn't have to be perfect, but how can I get it to basically go to the next level, right? How can I get some progress? We might find that during the retrograde, that progress is more stagnant. I know that, Sagittarius energy does not love stagnancy, so don't be surprised if some feelings of frustration rise up in us. If we have this motivation and we have this determination, but all of a sudden we're like, wait, but it's not going anywhere. That's okay. Again, it's only 3 weeks, so calm down, take some time to rest and, reacclimate yourself to whatever it is that you've been seeking to attain. Again, that feeling of perfection. I have to get this done correctly. I have to do this the exact way it needs to get done. Throw that out for the next couple of weeks. It is the holidays. We're taking time to recharge. Again, that's the retrograde energy. Recharge, reflect. Don't be surprised if old ways of doing things come up for us and maybe show themselves and we're like, wow, wait, I never thought about it like this, right? So don't be surprised if that happens, as usually retrogrades will bring things up from the past, and maybe that's the progress we needed. So sometimes going and looking in that rear view is actually getting us further ahead. Even if it doesn't look like it, that's where we have to throw out the feelings of perfection and that expectation that things need to be exactly the way that they're supposed to be. Throw that out for these next couple of weeks during the retrograde. Know that things are going to happen that might be out of your control, and seek that progress over that perfection. So that is number two. And the third way that I would recommend working with this energy is to focus on the solution, not on the problem. Capricorn is a builder. Capricorn wants to reach the finish line and wants to do it as the first, right? As number one, being on top. And this is, of course, all about things that are tried and true. Capricorn is the ever most traditionalist, right? Capricorn likes things to be done as they always have been. But again, success means that sometimes we have to skip over things that are not working and be more efficient in getting there. So focusing on the problem, which it can happen, right? But it's not getting us towards the solution, which is the finish line, which is the top, which is what ultimately, Capricorn can deem as success. So during retrogrades, yes, we are thinking back on things that have worked, things that haven't worked, maybe having conversations that needed to be had that haven't been had. Again, maybe people are coming back into our life. It's actually great that this first week of the Mercury retrograde, Mercury is going to be in a very supportive conversation with Venus and Scorpio. This is excellent for resolutions, especially in relationships. Venus and Scorpio is not afraid to go down and drag up the stuff that maybe needs to be discussed that hasn't been. And happening in correlation with a retrograde, I wouldn't be surprised if old situations come to the surface, maybe topics of conversation that you didn't want to have, all of a sudden they're coming up. But this is positive. This is helping us to move forward. Again, this is why we have Mercury retrograde. It's not to just, have our technology crash and have us miss our flight and have an argument because we didn't get our point across. That's not what retrograde is for. That might be a byproduct, but what it's really here for is to reflect and revise and reset things in our life, reset the Capricorn and the Sagittarius houses in our chart, meaning those areas of life are getting a major cosmic shift because of the retrograde energy. So take into account whatever comes back up from the past and understand that it might be actually helping us to get to that ultimate solution. The problem, which might have already started setting itself up during that pre-shadow, which actually began on November 25th, we might find that as we reach the peak of this retrograde, which is actually on December 22nd, and we'll get into that more next week during the Kazemi, we might find that things feel very intense and we're really looking at the problem being set up. But the solution is around the corner, guys. It's here. And if we simply just focus on what's gone wrong, it'll prevent us from focusing on what can go right. So that's a big piece of advice that, yes, we might be having to think back and things might come up that remind us of what didn't work, but use that as fuel, use that as information to figure out what can work. This is, again, revising that blueprint, knowing what it is that you want to achieve overall and not getting so focused on the things that haven't been working and on the problem at play. There's more than likely going to be a problem that's going on in our life during this time. That's what retrograde is here for. It shines a light on it. That Kazemi next week, as I will get into more next week on the 22nd, major shift, major moment of clarity. So on the 13th, things might go a little haywire and you might get a little, crazed out. That's okay. Know that by the end of next week, the solution will come more into light. More on that next week, but know that the focus here is on the solution, not just on the problem. All right, guys. So I know this is a lot of information. I know retrogrades can be a lot to respond to energetically, and that's why I did go a lot more in depth this week on that. So I apologize if this video is a bit longer than usual, but I do feel like it is important as this is what's permeating us for these next upcoming 3 weeks. During the holiday season, and of course, even approaching that full moon in Cancer right after Christmas. So a lot of cosmic energy, and this is the week that everything shifts. So the first couple weeks of December were calm, but that's not the case ending up towards the end of the month. We're going to have a lot more things coming up for us, a lot more we have to work through and navigate. So I hope this information was of help to you. Next week, we are celebrating the beginning of Capricorn season, which of course I love. We're going to do a full discussion of Capricorn. It also is in correlation with the winter solstice, so more on that. And like I'd mentioned previously, we do have a Sun Mercury Kazemi happening as well. So a lot to look forward to as we discuss next week. But again, I hope this information this week was of value to you. If it was, if you got information here that is serving you, please go ahead and hit the like button. I would really appreciate that support. If you did get information here that you feel could help other people, make sure that you share this out. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, make sure you go ahead and follow me as I do push out a lot of content through my Instagram. Last reminder, 25% off of all readings all throughout the month of December. You can go ahead, hit the link below to book one of those readings. And again, next week we are approaching Capricorn season. So this is also that final week where all my Sagittarius friends, you are still able to get 50% off of a solar return birthday reading. And again, if you have a solar return friend in your life, somebody that's having a birthday coming up, or maybe they just had one, and you want to gift them the gift of awareness and a solar return reading to know what to expect, make sure you hit the link below and you can also book that as well. So with that, we're going to close it off here, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I wish you a beautiful week. And again, as always, I will catch you on the next forecast.